the Mnemonics of Praxios, an applied um, Dasein tracking uh, cognizance. One could think of one approach, one opening for research on the question of dunamis and inertia, which Heidegger often tries, and I think which is connected to many of Agamben's attempts, such as when he's talking about Kafka's story, Josephine, the singer, and he's saying that she confesses that she never knew how to sing. There's an attempt to deal with an area which is also dealt with in the dispute between the Megarians and Aristotle over the doctrine of potentiality or power, or I believe we could even go so far as to say will, in the Nietzschean sense, and Heidegger. So far as I understand him, Heidegger's main thing on Nietzsche is like 600 pages long, but there's like a 4-volume version which is smaller. But it seems like his main thesis is that at the core of Nietzsche is a kind of the will to will. So that made it, just as one could speak of the concept on an equal sort of plane of sort of a co-equal primordiality. This could go away. In other words, things could change. I always give this example, but it's a good. I think the rule is to give one good example. That's enough. One sound or solid example. The sub-Saharan Nihilic people, as they're called in this title of the Evans Pritchard's, the newer, did not have the concept or the word time. So the things like that could change. There could be a human being that didn't have the concept of will, or even the word will, which is in itself very slippery, as will can mean, in German, will or will, ich will means I want, or I'd like to. It doesn't mean, it's not a saying that as though it has been done already. It's not a preemptory sort of. It's not I have the will. It's not I have the will to do this, as though there's a struggle involved, and you will do it. It's like bend your knee to this will of this project. But I suppose one would have to. How far could we go from just modifying that in some doctrine of affiliation or sort of Calon seeking, something that escapes from the Darwinian or evolutionary struggle that animals partake in, allowing that animal, from the Greek perspective, means something with senses, so that then one could kind of push it back and ask the question, are plants animals in a certain sense? Because plants have, maybe we could think of, even though plants have no like centralized spot like a brain, nor even neurons all over themselves. Nonetheless, one could kind of see the sense of asking, are plants animals, in the sense that do they somehow experience the light or something? Is there a center to them which isn't the physical center of a brain or a stomach or a neuron, but nonetheless corresponds to the idea of an animal as something with eyes and ears and the navel thing. Because then again, we could transfer it and imagine aliens with different senses too. Spinoza's notion of this infinity of the qualities could also partake in this infinity of different senses, sonar being a supposed example in bats. And then Nietzsche, in a way, makes much of that in Army of Metonymy, or whatever. Pronouns in search of adjectives worthy of describing them, or they could formulate in different grammatical ways. Yeah, how far could we? I mean, the trick would be to become phenomenological with the question, rather than to make a modification from the already existing sort of sense of willing as a potential within a being to direct itself toward, or to be directed towards something, or also at the same. I guess the more interesting in a way is to flip it around and say we know that other beings have this affiliation or philios drive within them, and therefore, like devour bird or whatever, we could think ourselves, oh, what could we do that will bring the right type of affiliation towards us? And then one thing would be to fulfill the necessaries that society thinks that are necessary, such as certain qualifications in your schooling and being credentialed in certain ways for a profession. So some of these things that we're supposed to consider galon in a way, in order to be drawn towards them, and to then mimetically apperceive the way we have to be to operate in I mean, in other words, our formation. That's the other way it's usually said. Or in a way, or breeding, or breeding, as it were, is so far as breeding means the whole into grad school and beyond. The breeding. So we could see something of phronetic sense in which the potential and the actual in our ethical or character building process can be kind of drawn to the edges, and then try to ask if whether all these accrual of concepts can only be modified, or whether there's something more direct that we can get out of the deconstruction and into the looking at the direct data.